He didn't know at first, but the alien town held a lustful secret about him: the arrival at Lumina. The crimson sun cast long shadows across the landing pad as Elian Reed stepped off the transport vessel. His boots crunched on the crystalline surface, sending tiny rainbow reflections dancing around his feet. After 3 years of studying the mysterious transmissions from Nephrith, he was finally here, the first human archaeologist permitted to study the ancient ruins surrounding the settlement of Lumina. "Welcome, Earth Dweller," a melodic voice called from behind him. Elian turned to find a slender figure approaching. Her skin was a soft lavender hue that deepened to rich purple along her high cheekbones and delicate jawline. Her eyes were large and luminous, their irises shifting between teal and silver as she moved into the sunlight. "I am Thalia Vex, assigned to guide you during your stay," she said, offering a traditional Nephrian greeting. Palms facing upward, fingers slightly curled. "The council awaits your presence." As they walked through the settlement, Elian noticed other Nephrians pausing their activities to watch him pass. Their gazes lingered longer than mere curiosity would explain, particularly among the female population. Some whispered behind their hands, their expressions a mixture of fascination and something else he couldn't quite identify. "Is it unusual for humans to visit Lumina?" Elian asked, adjusting his research pack. Thalia's lips curved into an enigmatic smile. "Very. You are only the 5th human to set foot here in my lifetime." The council chamber was a marvel of bioluminescent architecture, with walls that seemed to breathe with gentle pulses of light. 7 Nephrians sat in a semicircle, their formal robes shimmering with embedded crystals. The central figure, an elder with deep indigo skin, leaned forward as Elian entered. "The human scholar arrives at a most auspicious time," she announced, her voice carrying unusual excitement. "The alignment of our moons approaches." After a surprisingly brief interview, Elian was granted unrestricted access to the ruins, a privilege he hadn't expected. As Thalia led him to his dwelling, a domed structure of living plant matter, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to his welcome than scientific cooperation. "Rest now," Thalia said, lingering at his doorway. "Tomorrow, I will show you the ancient stones that called to you across the stars." Her fingers brushed against his arm, light as a feather. Yet he felt the touch long after she disappeared into the twilight. That night, Elian dreamed of purple skies and whispered promises, unaware that throughout Lumina, the Nephrian women were gathering in secret chambers, discussing the prophecy that had finally, after centuries of waiting, begun to unfold. Strange encounters. Morning arrived with a soft chime from the living walls of Elian's dwelling. Outside, he discovered a small arrangement of iridescent flowers that hadn't been there the night before. As he examined them, Thalia appeared around the corner, her purple skin glowing in the early light. "A welcoming gift," she explained, though she wouldn't say who had left them. "Come, the day is young and there is much to see." The outskirts of Lumina gave way to magnificent ruins, ancient stone structures partially reclaimed by Nephrith's unique flora. As Elian documented the site, he couldn't help noticing how Thalia watched him work, her gaze lingering whenever he wasn't looking directly at her. "These structures predate our settlement by millennia," she explained, leading him to a crumbling archway covered in faded symbols. "Our ancestors believed they were built by the first ones, who came from beyond the stars." Throughout the day, they encountered other Nephrians, mostly females who found reasons to approach, offering him exotic fruits or asking surprisingly personal questions about human customs. Each interaction left him slightly bewildered. One young Nephrian with periwinkle skin touched his hand and gasped, then hurried away giggling with her companions. "Is there something about me they find amusing?" Elian asked. Thalia's expression grew serious. "Not amusing, no. Fascinating, perhaps. Humans are different from us in ways that intrigue my people." That evening, Elian was invited to a gathering in the central plaza. Luminescent lanterns floated overhead as Nephrians performed a traditional dance that seemed to tell an ancient story. The movements were graceful yet charged with an intensity that made Elian shift uncomfortably. "This is the dance of awakening," Thalia whispered beside him. "It celebrates the season of new beginnings." When the music reached its crescendo, several dancers approached Elian, weaving around him with inviting gestures. One placed a wreath of glowing flowers around his neck. The sweet scent made his head swim pleasantly. "It is custom," Thalia said, though her eyes betrayed something more significant. Later, walking back under twin moons, Thalia guided him through a hidden garden where crystal pools reflected starlight. Her hand brushed against his, then lingered. In Nephrian culture, she said softly, we believe some connections transcend species and worlds. She moved closer, her breath warm against his cheek. Do humans believe such things? Before he could answer, a distant bell sounded and Thalia reluctantly stepped back. Tomorrow, I will show you the Temple of Whispers. There are inscriptions there you should see. That night, Elian dreamed of purple skin against his and woke to find another gift outside his door, a small crystal that pulsed with light in rhythm with his heartbeat. The Ancient Prophecy. The Temple of Whispers stood half buried in a grove of tall spiral trees. Its entrance, barely visible beneath centuries of vine growth, opened into a cavernous chamber that still retained traces of paint along its stone walls. Elian felt a strange tingling as he crossed the threshold, almost as if the air itself recognized his presence. These are our most sacred ruins, Thalia explained, her voice hushed with reverence. Few outsiders have been permitted here. As they ventured deeper, illuminating their path with bioluminescent lanterns, Elian noticed the carvings growing more intricate. One wall depicted humanoid figures with distinctly non-Nephrian features. These appear to be humans, he remarked, tracing the outline with his finger. Thalia nodded slowly. Our histories speak of visitors from distant stars. Some stayed and were celebrated as catalyst bearers. In the central chamber, a magnificent mural spread across the curved ceiling, partially obscured by age. Using specialized equipment, Elian enhanced the faded images, revealing a startling scene. A human figure stood surrounded by Nephrian women, their hands outstretched toward him while a visible energy flowed between them. What does this represent? Elian asked, though a flutter of understanding was already stirring within him. Thalia hesitated, then sighed. It is time you knew. She guided him to a small alcove where a crystalline tablet bore ancient script. This is the prophecy of resonance. It speaks of one who would come from the stars, carrying an energy that would awaken what lies dormant in our hearts. She finally met his eyes directly. Human pheromones affect Nephrians in unexpected ways. Your biochemistry. It resonates with ours, intensifying emotions, particularly those of attraction and desire. Her purple skin darkened along her cheekbones. That is why the council was so eager to approve your visit, why the women of Lumina have been leaving gifts. Suddenly, the strange encounters made sense, the lingering glances, the personal questions, the way they found excuses to touch him. Are you saying I'm unwittingly affecting everyone around me? Like some kind of awakener, she finished for him. It is considered a blessing, not a burden, but I understand if you find it overwhelming. Elian ran his hand through his hair. And you? Are you affected too? Thalia stepped closer, the silver flecks in her eyes shimmering. I was chosen as your guide because I have trained to maintain composure in the presence of catalyst bearers. But yes, I feel it too. Her fingers tentatively brushed his wrist, perhaps more strongly than most. The air between them seemed to vibrate with unspoken possibilities. Outside, thunder rumbled as the afternoon rains began, sealing them temporarily within the ancient temple. The prophecy speaks of more than just attraction, Thalia continued, her voice barely audible above the rainfall. It speaks of transformation for both sides, of bridges built between worlds. As she translated the remainder of the text, Elian realized he stood at a crossroads far more significant than his archaeological research had prepared him for. And as Thalia's hand found his in the dim light of the temple, he wasn't sure he wanted to resist the pull of this strange new gravity. Moonlit Confessions. The twin moons of Nephrith, one silver, one with a faint azure glow, reached perfect alignment only once every 63 days. This celestial event, known to Nephrians as the Joining, was celebrated with a night festival where traditions dating back countless generations were honored. Elian had spent the days since the temple revelation in a state of heightened awareness. Every interaction with the Nephrians now carried new meaning. He'd noticed the subtle competition among the females for his attention, gifts appearing with increasing frequency, accidental touches, invitations to private meals. But it was Thalia who occupied his thoughts. Their dynamic had shifted since the temple, a new tension hanging between them whenever they were alone. Neither had directly addressed the growing attraction, yet it colored every word, every glance. Tonight is special, Thalia said, appearing at his dwelling in a shimmering dress that accentuated her purple skin. Silver patterns adorned her arms in intricate swirls. Will you attend the joining festival with me? The central plaza had transformed into an enchanted garden. Floating lights cast soft illumination over gatherings of Nephrians. Music from crystalline instruments filled the air, haunting melodies unlike anything on Earth. During the joining, it is believed that emotional barriers thin, Thalia explained as they walked among the festivities. What is felt but unspoken may finally find voice. They found a secluded spot at the edge of the celebration, beneath trees with luminescent leaves that gently pulsed in rhythm with the music. Above them, the moons drew ever closer to perfect alignment. In your world, Thalia asked, is it forbidden to form connections with those different from yourself? Elian considered the question. Not forbidden, but uncommon. Humans often fear what they don't understand. And you? Do you fear this? Her fingers tentatively intertwined with his, sending a pleasant warmth up his arm. I'm curious by nature, he replied, his voice lower than intended. It's why I became an archaeologist, to discover the unknown. As the moons aligned overhead, casting their combined light into a brilliant glow, Thalia moved closer. The prophecy speaks of transformation through connection, not just physical but spiritual. Her free hand rose to touch his face. I have felt drawn to you since you arrived beyond the effects of your pheromones. There is something between us that transcends biology. Under the joined moons, their lips met. Tentative at first, then with growing certainty, her skin felt like warm silk against his, and where they touched, a faint luminescence seemed to bloom. Across the plaza, several Nephrian women watched with undisguised jealousy. One in particular, Nera, with deep violet skin and sharp eyes, turned away in obvious displeasure. Later, as they walked along a meandering path illuminated by bioluminescent flowers, Thalia led Elian to a hidden grotto. A natural pool steamed gently with mineral-rich water, its surface reflecting the aligned moons. This is the spring of communion, she explained, her voice intimate. Our ancestors believed it enhanced the connection between kindred spirits. As they entered the warm waters, the mineral composition caused their skin to glow softly where they touched. Here, secluded from watchful eyes, they explored their connection further. Human and Nephrian discovering each other's differences and surprising similarities through touch and whispered words. Afterward, lying on the soft bank beneath the joined moons, Elian realized he had a difficult decision looming. His expedition was scheduled to end in just 7 days. Return transport had already been arranged. Yet the thought of leaving Thalia, of returning to a world where no one glowed with inner light or understood the connection he'd discovered here, filled him with unexpected sorrow. What happens when your research concludes? Thalia asked, as if reading his thoughts, her head resting against his chest. Elian had no answer as the joined moons slowly began their separation in the night sky. Between two worlds. The final days of Elian's expedition unfolded with increasing tension. Word of his intimate connection with Thalia had spread through Lumina, creating a rift among the Nephrians. While many celebrated the apparent fulfillment of the prophecy, others, led by Nera, a member of the Council's younger faction, argued that Thalia had claimed the catalyst bearer for herself against tradition. The prophecy speaks of awakening our people, not just one individual. Nera confronted them during a community gathering. Her supporters nodded in agreement. The energy should be shared for the benefit of all Lumina. Thalia stood her ground. The prophecy also speaks of genuine connection, not merely biological response. What Elian and I share was chosen, not predetermined. As his departure date approached, Elian immersed himself in final documentation of the temple inscriptions, discovering additional texts that had been obscured by mineral deposits. Working late into the night, he made a breakthrough that changed everything. The original translation was incomplete, he told Thalia excitedly. The prophecy doesn't end with awakening. It continues to describe a bonding ritual, one that would allow the catalyst bearer to attune to a single Nephrian, creating a permanent bridge between our kinds. The ritual, detailed in the ancient text, required the essence of both worlds, earth soil mixed with Nephrith crystal, combined during a rare astronomical alignment, one that would occur the very night before Elian's scheduled departure. When they brought this discovery to the council, debate erupted. Some elders supported their request to perform the ritual, while others, including Nera, opposed what they considered a selfish interpretation of sacred text. "If you proceed," Naira warned, "you risk severing Lumina's connection to the prophecy forever." After hours of deliberation, the eldest council member raised her hand for silence. "The prophecy has brought the catalyst bearer to us. If his heart has chosen, who are we to stand against the will of the first ones? The ritual may proceed." That night, beneath a sky where 3 stars formed a perfect triangle above the horizon, Elian and Thalia prepared for the ancient ceremony at the Temple of Whispers. They created the sacred mixture and traced the prescribed symbols on each other's skin, his in glowing blue, hers in earthen brown. As they completed the ritual, speaking words in both human and Nephrian languages, something extraordinary happened. Where their hands joined, energy spiraled between them, visible as intertwining strands of light. Elian felt a transformation beginning within him, not changing what he was, but expanding it. His senses sharpened. Suddenly, he could perceive the subtle energy fields that Nephrians naturally saw. For Thalia, the connection brought understanding of human emotion, complex, intense, without the natural restraint of her people. Together, they had become more than either could be alone. The next morning, as the transport vessel waited, Elian stood with Thalia before the council and the gathered community. "I request an extension of my research permit," he announced. "There is much more to document about the interaction between our worlds." The council exchanged knowing glances. The eldest smiled. Perhaps a permanent cultural ambassador position could be arranged. Naira, who had witnessed the ritual's outcome, stepped forward unexpectedly. "The prophecy spoke truth, but not as we interpreted it. The awakening was never meant for just our people. It was meant for both worlds." She bowed her head in acceptance. As the transport vessel departed without him, Elian stood with Thalia at the edge of Lumina, their fingers intertwined, their skin faintly glowing where they touched. Before them stretched the ancient ruins, holding more secrets than either had imagined. Behind them lay a community forever changed by his arrival. "Between two worlds," Thalia murmured, echoing the prophecy's final line. "Where something new begins," Elian finished as they walked together toward their shared future on the purple shores of Nephrith.